What up, what up? Welcome. Welcome everyone to the Connect Lab. Here's a space to reflect on how we relate, connect, and influence one another.
Here, we explore human relationships with curiosity and intention because sometimes understanding others is the beginning to understand ourselves.
Mhm.
Welcome, Terry. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again, Ezra. Uh,
Certainly, man. I'm so happy, very excited to see you today. Uh, let's create something marvelous to talk about.
mhm.
The topic today I want to bring to you, my friend, is why we misread people. And sometimes we are interested about human relationships, and it's common to have misunderstandings with them. Uh, and most of us, we had these moments where we realized that we completely misinterpreted somebody else,
Mhm.
their intentions, their tone, even their personality.
Mhm.
So maybe a good place to start is, why do you think we misunderstand the people so easily?
Well, I've been thinking about this topic for quite a while, and for me, I think it comes down to a lot of factors. But personally, I think that there are three key factors that that made one that made someone misunderstand another.
Hmm.
For example, it's one of them is the sense of strangeness.
The what?
Strangeness,
Straightness. Okay.
like I don't know you, you don't know me, and maybe something that comes from me might be a little bit strange to you. And because we don't know each other that well, or we don't know each other at all, it can come across as sometimes offensive or whatnot, and it can lead to a very bad misunderstanding simply because we don't know each other well enough, right? And the second factor would be that we don't really communicate to one another, and it builds up on from the first idea, right? Since we don't know each other and we don't communicate with each other, so everything that comes out of us can become a very bad misunderstanding. Bad or good, still misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And the third factor, I'll leave it to you. What do you think?
Well, it makes me wonder actually. When we interact with someone,
Mm-hmm.
are we actually responding to who they are
Mm-hmm.
or the story we create about them?
Exactly.
Do you think our past experience influence how we perceive the others?
Mm, what? How do you mean? Do you mean by do we respond to others by the story we heard about them, or the story we created within ourselves or mind about the other person?
The second option, actually,
The
the
second
fact that
option.
you are understanding the others and
Mm-hmm.
based on your own experiences
Mm-hmm.
that you have passed in your life.
I see. A lot. A lot. For example, um, I am a person who's been misunderstood quite often,
Oh
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, throughout my high school, I've had this sort of bad reputation, to no fault of my own, I think. But they thought that I was a person, an arrogant person, a cocky person, simply because I like to show off a little bit of my talent. For example, in high school, I was in a French class. So as you might not know, I've learned French for quite a while. I've learned French since I was in the first grade. But in the simultaneously, I also learn English at the same time. And I usually like to speak in English more, not much in French. Even and for my French classmate, it was not a good thing because they thought I'm arrogant and cocky and like to show off.
I see.
But it's more of my way to practice English. As you might know now, trying to learn French, you should practice speaking French, communicating in French everywhere you go, so that you can improve.
C'est vrai, mon ami.
Yeah, oui. C'est pourquoi that's why it's my way of trying to learn both languages at the same time when I was young. and people misunderstood that.
I can understand that feeling because since we're immigrants and we're trying to learn a different language,
Mm-hmm.
of course, the people that they are not learning a different new skill,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't, they are not able to dimensionate
Mm-hmm.
how complicated it could be and the perseverance you require to be putting on it.
That's true.
So it happens to me very often that I'm start to speak with my friends in Japanese or French or in
Mm-hmm.
English, even
Mm-hmm.
if I know they don't really understand what I'm saying. Not for showing off, Presley. It's
Mm-hmm.
more for trying to keep in mind what I'm doing. And
Mm-hmm.
most of them already know that, so
Mm-hmm.
they know me. My close friends know that. But I know that for people that they are not into that, they could misunderstanding
Yep.
and think that maybe you're trying to pretend or show off or positionate yourself like superior to them
Mm-hmm.
when that's not the reality. It's
Mm-hmm.
precisely the misconception of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there is a lack of communication
Mm-hmm.
or comprehend between the two integrants
Mm-hmm.
in this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it makes totally sense. So you could say that actually it was not you creating a problem there, but just the conception and the understanding of the others about what were your actual intentions
Mm-hmm.
in that matter. Is
Mm-hmm.
it?
It's true. And my dad used to say that you really can't control anyone except yourself. Um, and what other people think of you is what they would they will treat you as. So as long as you don't um, influence them to see a different side of you, they will forever treat you as a story in their head.
Yeah, and I think that kind of situations also has to be when they're stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they having a bad day, or
Mm-hmm.
they're having a bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're human beings,
I know.
we,
I know.
we cannot be happy all the time or having a perfect moment. We have some moments that we're suffering, we're passing through many things that might affect us, and then in base of that feeling or how we're feeling that moment,
Mm-hmm.
we can create a different interpretation of what the other people are trying to express to us.
That's true.
So yeah, how much do you think the emotions actually might affect the way we interpret it or understand the people?
Um, I think as human being, we are an emotional creature. I've heard this term online a few times already, and so since that, I've come to realize that emotions sometimes can be 100% of how we interpret other people, especially in, like you said, in moments of great passion. For example, if we are very angry at something, and somehow, not by force of their own, right, and they come to us, but we, with that anger within ourselves, we can be not happy with it, just
Right.
simply because they wanted to talk with us. It's not bad. It's actually a good thing, right? To someone to come in and try to calm you down, but still, because of that anger that you're having at that particular moment, you can feel like they are not really paying attention to your feeling, or you can misunderstand their good intention, right? So on average, I would say 80%.
80%?
Yeah, 80%, because we cannot always keep our cool head, especially not in an environment that we have to be. For example, in a day-to-day life, we don't have to be always keep a cool head. We have always have to keep a cool head in a work environment, in a professional environment where we are doing professional role, such as, for example, if we are doing customer service, we always have to keep a cool head and treat our customer right. But once we get out of that environment, our true self can reveal itself, and sometimes that true self also comes with a lot of emotion, and that emotion can have uh, heavy influence on how we see the world and how we treat one another and how we understand one another even.
I see. So if we put all this together,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like misunderstanding others isn't necessarily about bad intentions, right?
That's true. That's
It
true.
might be just part of how the human mind works at the
Yes,
moment to interact with others.
exactly.
So, do you think misunderstanding people is more natural than understanding them?
Yeah, it's more natural because I've also heard that there was a study. I keep saying all of this, but I cannot
Please don't.
quote from the exact source. But there was a study that there are a lot of people who say no as the definite answer for everything first, right?
I see.
And misunderstanding is also sort of the same thing. Not a lot of people try to understand one another. They just want to go on with their life, and they formulate their own understanding of a stranger so that they can keep on going and they don't have to talk to them. For example, on my way here, I saw someone doing something, and I'm just had this thought in my head that okay, he's doing that for that reason. I should not bother him. I should move on. But in reality, I don't really know why he's doing what he was doing, and or for what reason or for who. I didn't know any of that. I just know that okay, I just know the story in my head, right? So
Yeah.
yes, to answer your question, it's more natural to misunderstand someone, just not out of bad intention. Once again, just something natural to help you move on with your life.
Yeah. So
How about you? What do you
I
feel?
think this is why it's very important the relationships because many conflicts don't start from harm;
Mm-hmm.
they start from perception,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that could create a huge problem. For instance, recently I had a little issue. I saw a coworker who has a problem with another one.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the guy never had a problem with her.
Mm-hmm.
It never was unrespectful or with bad intentions to her.
Mm-hmm.
However, in some point, he did a simple comment. He says something like, "I have a little bit more experience because I've been here 3 months more than you."
Mm-hmm.
And she took it very personal.
Mm-hmm.
He was more like trying to tease on her, but
Mm-hmm.
he took it like that personal that she stopped to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
She even started to feel feelings of hate to him
Mm-hmm.
for a simple comment like that, and started to take personal things
Mm-hmm.
that were not supposed to take it personal,
Mm-hmm.
or she started to
Mm-hmm.
assume things that are not supposed to think because they were not there, they were not existing, but she took it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not judging her, I'm not judging him.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them made their own mistakes in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that one person has a word in their mind and the other person has another world in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So in consequence, when they collide together,
Mm-hmm.
might create a terrible impact between each other if the two of them are not willing to open the doors to comprehend each other deeply.
That's very true. And on that topic, that's why I always said like leadership skill doesn't just come from knowing the direction and leading them,
Yeah,
but leading them is also about conflict resolution, how to mediate conflict. And I have a similar story like this. So I was part of when I was in university. Obviously, there were a lot of group projects, and sometimes conflict did arise. And for some people, they prefer to resolve conflict one on one, like mano a mano, talk it out, but in private. For some people, they like to make it clear for everyone. So, and there were one situation where two guys in my group, they were not happy with each other in some sort of conflict that I did not know the reason of because I wasn't part of the conversation. But what I knew was the guy who liked to make it clear for everyone when and made it public to the whole group that okay, you and me, we have a problem and we need to solve it right now. The other guy who preferred more private way were not happy with the way that the other guy did that, and was even more upset now. Dan, sorry, because he made the conflict public, right? And that misunderstanding really did put a strain on productivity of our group, and also put a strain on their relationship, which required a lot of mediation from our group leader at the time to smooth out and help them resolve their
Yeah,
personal conflict.
because affect the moral, right?
Right, exactly.
There is one of my life philosophy I try to always do with my life, and I think it's very important in this
Mm-hmm.
kind of matters,
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that the success
Mm-hmm.
and achievements that somebody does,
Mm-hmm.
you say it in public,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and failures that that person does,
Mm-hmm.
you say it in private.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. In my coaches, we also have a same thing, which will try to translate it into English. Is that the good thing we show, the bad thing we try to not show in public. This is top where xấu che, which basically means that good show the good part of yourself, and the bad part, try to keep it to yourself and try to solve it in private. I also took the stand on that, but obviously not all people who live like that. I don't blame them or judge them in any other way. But for me, I agree with your life philosophy.
Thank you. Yeah, I think when you live it that way, you make the life easier for you and for the others as well.
Mm-hmm.
You keep a better energy, a better moral with your team, with the group you're relationating right now in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you start to spread out the mistakes that somebody, let's say that we're in the class
Mm-hmm.
and you made a mistake, and hey, you did a mistake, you should say it like this way,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying in front of everybody, I'm putting you in evidence
Mm-hmm.
when it's not really necessary.
That's true.
I can go after the class and say, hey, you know what? I just noticed that you made this little mistake. So may I give you the correction to tell you it could be in this way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you could say, oh, merci beaucoup, mon ami. And
Mm-hmm.
that's way better than if I start to put in evidence to you with others.
Mm-hmm.
Always is very important, guys, to don't try to humiliate or make feel bad to others in public.
Mm-hmm.
Always be meaningful about that kind of situations. Um,
It doesn't cost anything to be kind, right?
yeah, because how many relationships problems do you think come from misinterpretation rather than reality?
I think all relationship can be put in that position.
Certainly, right?
No, regardless of the nature of the relationship, either co-worker, friends, or classmate, acquaintances, or even romantic or parental relationship. You can be misunderstood by your parent, and vice versa. You can misunderstand their intention as well. So probably all kind of relationship can be put in that position.
Yeah, maybe this led us to something even deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if our perception is filtered,
Mm-hmm.
then understanding someone
Mm-hmm.
might begin with questioning ourselves.
That's true.
What do you think help us understand people most clearly?
Three things. The first is remember that and this might sound obvious, but one finger pointing at someone else, there are always three finger pointing back at us.
Oof, that's powerful, man.
So before we point fingers and blame others, there's always that part of us that we have to take responsibility for before we make any assumption and all of that. And the second idea is assumption kills. One thing that I learned when I first came to Canada, that I assumed Canadian or Canadian life to be one way. And then when I faced with the reality of the Canadian life, when I was actually here and am here right now, it's two totally different reality, right?
Yeah,
One,
it
one,
is.
one reality was in my head, and in the news, and in the assumption that I made, and then another reality is the true reality that I actually live in this country. So yeah, assumption kills. So try to limit the amount of assumption that one can have about anything. Assumption and expectation, honestly. Like if you expected uh, someone, it's too much of someone, you will most likely end up being disappointed, and it's not a good thing, right?
Never is gonna be a good thing.
Right? People, they have their flaws and they have the good side as well. And if we expect only to see the good side, and then when that flaws come up, we'll be very disappointed. But it's no fault of their own. We are human. We're not perfect. That's why we can always grow and we can always improve. Yeah.
Yeah, and in this I hear three advices for you guys
Mm-hmm.
about how you can make it a better communication, a better understanding, create a better environment with the people you're relating with. And the first one is be clean with your words.
Mm-hmm.
When you're communicating, when you're expressing yourself to others, try to always look for the wellness to others, to don't express yourself badly or negatively or cursing to others or cursing yourself. Always look for be clean at the moment to speak and express yourself. The second one, and very important, never make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, you're not sure, you don't have evidence that clarify, even if probably it could be the truth, but you're not 100% sure, you're not 100% sure about the situation, never make assumptions, because the mind, it could be very tricky with us. Our mind cannot really affect us, made us think that
Mm-hmm.
we are what we're thinking is right, but most of the time it's just fakeness. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time it's just an illusion created in
Mm-hmm.
your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and you're affecting yourself when you let your mind take control of you.
That's
And the third one is never take the things personal. Because sometimes I can come and say, hey man, I appreciate you, but
true.
perhaps I'm not in the best vibe because I was coming from something else.
Mm-hmm.
And despite my intention was good, maybe it made you feel bad because you feel it different.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I can make a joke with somebody and trying to make it fun,
Mm-hmm.
and for that person could take it in a negative way. So even if my intention was good, the person decided to take it personal
Mm-hmm.
when it was an attack. And even if the person is coming to tell you something negative,
Mm-hmm.
something attacking you directly, never take it personal, because as Terry say, when somebody is pointing out is to somebody else, it's also pointed out toward with three fingers to his own self.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very powerful reflection,
Mm-hmm.
because when somebody's attacking you or saying something negative about you, it's in your power decide to take it personal or not. Because actually, when somebody say something bad to others,
Mm-hmm.
it's because it's saying what is in his own perception or her own perception about their own selves, not about what you really are. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody say that you're stupid, doesn't mean that you're stupid. It means that the perception of that person is that for him or her is stupid
Mm-hmm.
only for her. So he or she is not calling you stupid. That person is calling to his or her own self stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So never take the things personal. And I think that way you're gonna be more peaceful, have a better life, and a better communication and connection with the others. Sometimes we think that we're reacting to another person, but we might actually be reacting to our own interpretation about them. And it's important to be aware of that. So the real question here becomes that how often you're responding to someone rather than the story
Mm-hmm.
you created about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we finish here.
Keep it simple like this. I sorry, I have one last thing to say. God gave us two hands. And just imagine on one hand is the irrational side of you. The emotion, the instinct, the the feelings. And the other side is the rational, the logical, the cool head, straightforward part of you. Individually, they can do very little things. But together, they're very strong.
That's true.
And you see that not in just philosophy, but for example, in real life, in sport, for example, one of the most powerful shot that you can do in tennis is the two hands slap, where you use the power of both of your hands. So similar to that action in sport or in life. Together we can go very far. And if we can combine our own irrationality and feeling and emotion with the help of our rational side, then we can have a very clear and very good and very understanding reality and perception of life, and don't lead to any bad or false expectation or misunderstanding.
Certainly, that's very true, Tori. And that led us with a last question
Mm-hmm.
about tonight, and is how often are you responding to someone
Right on.
rather than to the story you create about them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.